for
Uh-huh.
sure.
All right. So there's the chat right there for you to look at. You see it there?
I don't on my
Okay.
menu.
Oh, oopsie. All righty. Here we go. Here we go. We are live. All right. Welcome, everybody. I am Tammy with Nursing.com, and tonight I brought along a friend, the nurse Kristen. Kristen, I get that so messed up all the time.
It's okay.
So just bear with me. So Kristen, we are so happy to have you here. If you guys don't know who Kristen is, let me just share with you a few fun facts about Kristen. So Kristen is a new nurse grad who graduated with her AS and BSN, right?
Correct. Yes.
In May of 2020, so just recently. Her best buddy during nursing school was her 14-year-old doxie named, what's his name?
Odie. Little Odie. Yes. He's my little 14-year-old. He is right here, actually. He's right. Hold on. Come here, Odie.
Oh. Odie's really cute. We were talking a bit there.
Hi, honey. I know.
Looks
We're
like
live, buddy. Can you say hi?
Hi, Odie.
Good boy.
Your mom is so happy that you got her through nursing school.
Yeah, right. He's like, thank God you're done, Mom, because I am over it with the late night studies. Huh?
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
How many of you guys in the chat there, how many of you guys had a dog as your best buddy through nursing school? That's what I'm curious to hear. So anyways, moving on. I get distracted by cute doggies. So Kristen plans on going back to school to become a CRNA. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, you're going to do some critical care, and you actually just got a job in the neurostroke unit, right?
Yep, neurostroke night shifts. Yes.
Awesome. But currently it's the COVID unit, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, currently it is a COVID unit. So I've been working with COVID patients currently. So yeah.
Ooh, nice. That'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Right out of school.
Yes, right? It's a good experience. Yeah, so just jump right into it.
Absolutely. So Kristen loves to interact with nursing students and helping out in any way possible. She actually launched, this is really cool. And I will admit, Kristen, I did like Instagram stalk you and I saw all your cute stuff, but anyway.
Oh my gosh, you're so cute.
She launched an online store, a nursing store in September of last year. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think this is so awesome, guys. This is just going to be a testament of how amazing Kristen is. But actually, a percentage of her proceeds for that store goes back to help the community every month. So
it does. Awesome. Yeah, I just opened it in September, and then every month there's usually proceeds, a percentage of proceeds that go to. I did like the Phoenix Children's Hospital here last year, and so for holiday time, I used the proceeds to kind of put to toys, and I bought toys and dropped them off at the hospital. And then amazing. Now with COVID, everything's been towards helping the hospital, the healthcare staff, and providing snacks, foods, lunches, and that kind of stuff. So it's amazing. I love using a platform that I can be able to give back to the community because that's really what it's all about. So I absolutely love it. So
that's amazing. And I actually just put that website, your store website here in the chat. So if anybody wants to check that out.
Awesome.
Do you have any of the stuff that you sell that you can just like hold up real quick or?
Yeah. So at the end of this, I'm going to be giving away one of these nurse tumblers that were the summer tumblers. This one was one of the top sellers in the shop over the summer. And then I'm also going to be giving away one of the Health Heroes bath bombs. And 100% of these that are sold in the shop are going towards the healthcare providers. So this one I'll also be giving away. So
awesome. Yeah. You're so sweet. So outside of nursing, Kristen enjoys reading, working out, watching medical shows. What's your favorite?
Oh, I have too many. Like obviously Grey's Anatomy. I mean, it's like everyone's top favorite, but between that and like The Good Doctor and New Amsterdam, ER from back in the day.
Oh wow, yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, I just pretty much watch them all. Just all of them. They're great.
Well, I agree. And then you'll enjoy cooking, yoga, and of course, spending time with friends and family.
Absolutely.
So, if that doesn't say enough about how awesome Kristen is, I think there's nobody better to provide helpful information on how to succeed during COVID as a nursing student. And tonight, she's going to be giving y'all 3 tips on what kind of helped her be successful as she prepared for the NCLEX, took the NCLEX, graduated nursing school, got her first job, all during COVID. So, Kristen, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you share your special work. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I am so excited to talk to you guys because during these times, I can only imagine probably a lot of you guys have just started back at nursing school right now. Like today, I know was a lot of people's first day back, and it's a lot of changes that are going on. So I know one of the main changes, especially for myself, since I'm pretty much like the very first class of the COVID 2020 of nursing students that graduated during this time in May. And I've kind of already experienced kind of what you guys are going to be experiencing going back to school during COVID. And it can be pretty stressful because it's just you're not in school like most of the time anymore. You're going to be at home doing lectures. Some of you guys may not even have clinical stuff going on right now. So you might even not have clinicals that you'll be going to for hands-on experience, and it's kind of like at home as well. Maybe some of you do, but it's definitely a totally different time. So kind of as I'm talking with you guys, I'm going to be telling you kind of my experiences from my last semester of nursing school, and then kind of what I felt like really helped me through the whole period. So first tip for you guys, I know for lectures and stuff, a lot of you guys are going to be doing your lectures from home. Everything is an online format. They're not allowing too many people on campus right now. Which is very different when you're used to having an in-class kind of, get to interact with your classmates and get to see your professors in person, right? So it's very different from at home. And for myself, it kind of was okay because I work from home generally right now. So I've been in pharmacy for 15 years, and out of the 10, I've worked from home. So I'm used to being in that at-home format. So it wasn't so bad for me, but for many other people, it kind of throws you for a loop when you have to do everything from home. So one of the things I definitely recommend for you guys if you're doing a lecture from home is make sure you're organized. Make sure you guys read your stuff ahead of time from your professors. So if you guys started today, I hope you guys have kind of reviewed through the syllabus for what's to come. Maybe if there were PowerPoints that your professor may have put up for you guys to kind of read ahead, and then come to class or come to your Zoom class prepared with questions or any concerns that you guys have that you guys can discuss during that period. Also for myself, I had a very close-knit nursing family. So that's like some of my nursing school besties. And we had like Zoom conferences and we had FaceTimes that we ended up doing since whenever I was in my last semester, we couldn't go anywhere to study anything. I mean, everything was closed down at the time. So all we had was Zoom and FaceTime. So I highly recommend that you guys utilize that tool to be able to kind of interact with each other, to study, or as things start kind of opening up at different places, depending on what state you guys are in, maybe you guys can have like a small group to go and study and just knock ideas off with each other. And that helps a lot. So make sure you guys do that. Make sure you guys are writing your professors with questions. That's typically something, especially now, professors are going to be really vigilant of getting online and writing everyone more often now than they ever have because everything's an online format. So they're going to be on there more often. So especially utilize them as well too, because they can definitely help you. As far as lecture 2, I used a lot of my PowerPoints, and I know you guys have seen, if you guys follow me on my Instagram page, I have utilized a lot of my notes and my PowerPoints to all of my study guides, but I've also used nursing.com as like a supplemental learning for myself, and it helped a lot. So if any of you guys have used them or are using them currently while you're in nursing school, they have a lot of really good courses for you guys for if there's any topic that you guys aren't understanding. They have so many that has to do with med-surg and psych and fundamentals or pediatrics and anything like that that you guys can utilize for a tool. So be sure to use them. They're amazing on everything that they have. So highly, highly recommend that as well. So that is the first tip with lectures. Make sure you guys are engaged. Make sure you're utilizing your online tools. Everyone's learning, so don't be discouraged if you have some issues with the online format or your professors are having issues. It's a learning process for everybody, and everyone's adapting to change, right? Like, we're living this COVID time, and it's like nothing anyone's had ever experienced before. So give it time. Over time, it'll get better as the semester hopefully progresses for you guys.
Okay, Kristen, just real quick, can I ask you a couple of questions here?
Yeah.
Okay, so some people are wondering, how do you encourage other nursing students to join your study group? She tried to organize one, but people weren't interested. How did you get people to want to join your study group?
For myself, yeah. So I immediately got to asking a couple girls about getting together to study for FaceTime, Zooms, just to make it fun. Like, I mean, we could just talk about whatever. We could review over anything, whatever anyone wanted to study, whatever anyone had questions on. I was just open. I'm a very kind of outgoing personality. I like to talk to people. I like to just, I don't know, like, it just seemed to be easy for me to kind of really engage with people to want to come to study. I would just be open and just maybe, like, if they have like a Facebook group with your class page, that was also something that we had, and we posted a lot on there as well, as far as if anyone wanted to get together to go and study, or maybe a Zoom study, or a live study, something. And then a lot of people actually engaged in that too. So I would do something like that, and just, make a group chat, and then have a bunch of people come and see if they would want to join that. And usually a lot of people do, because a lot of people, especially now, will want to somehow find a way of studying in a group fashion that you wouldn't be able to by going to a library or anything like that right now. So
right. Yeah, totally. Question from Daniel. He, a little unusual, but our clinical is condensed into the first month, so we'll be having didactics following. So OB and CCU clinical are before the didactics for this courses. Any recommendations on that?
That is interesting.
Yeah,
it is interesting, because there are schools that have, they're doing things very different. And so there are some schools that are going to have a lot of the learning before or after, and it can get pretty confusing. And some places, they're not even going to have in-person clinicals at all. So then it's like trying to learn all of this stuff from an online format. So, for myself, it's working with what you have, trying the best that you can, utilizes the resources that you have. Your guys' resources are amazing. Maybe from some of your, they really are. Like, I have used them literally since my second block through the whole entire school. But it's just really trying to utilize different sources that you have. Unfortunately, with the way different programs are, everyone works very different in how they teach or how they set up things. Right. So, you just kind of have to go with the flow. Unfortunately, that's what 2020 is. It's going with the flow of change, and just adapting to the new change.
Yeah, exactly. To follow that question up, he said, how do you recommend being prepared for clinicals, and especially you've never yet learned much about? And I was just going to ask you this. I don't know if you did this, but I know a lot of people, if you are a member of nursing.com, they would go in and watch the video lessons to understand that. So minus nursing.com, what would you do?
Me personally, I hadn't had to do that. But if I had to go into a clinical and you knew absolutely nothing about it, you hadn't learned anything about it, I was one that went and asked a lot of questions. And I would tell them too, I have not learned anything about this yet. However, I'm very open of learning. I really want to, learn as much as I can. And that is one thing I recommend to everyone too. When you go into any clinical setting, be open to learn as much as possible and utilize that time wisely. Because like me, unfortunately, I didn't get any critical care clinicals at all, because everything shut down. So all of my stuff at the end of the last semester, I didn't even get a chance to do. And
Wow.
so, so utilize any day. And it doesn't even matter if it's an area that you want to work in or if it's not an area you want to work in. Be open to learn as much as you can, help your nurse, and pretty much try to do as much as you can that for your nurse. And then if there's not a whole lot that you can do with her, go to another nurse. If you see something that maybe you haven't tried before, like, you haven't done a Foley yet, or you haven't started an IV, and that, another nurse is going to do it, ask her and just say, hey, would you mind if I did that for you? Would you mind if I started an IV? Would you mind if I started Foley? Or, maybe she has an interesting case and you want to learn about it, and just ask questions. Like, just go, just want to be there, want to learn, be ready to go. Just be very active in your learning is kind of what I think, because I feel like you get so much out of it, what you put into it. So if you're going to go and just kind of watch and not really do a lot of hands-on anything and just kind of go with the flow for the 12 hours, I mean, that's fine. Right. But I just don't know how much you're going to get out of it. So
Actually,
go and
hands-on too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So on top of that, so you said you didn't do any clinicals for your critical care. So how did you, and now you're working in ICU, and so how did you?
Yeah, so it's a PCU, so it's a step down from the ICU, but it is like a critical care setting. I've just been fascinated with critical care in general, and I've kind of had critical care-ish experience already in my last block, before my last one. I had my very first code blue experience on my floor, and so it just kind of jumped right into that. And then I had another patient that was declining very rapidly and ended up having to go for an emergency surgery. And so I got to kind of be part of that. And then, and I'm a fast-paced kind of person too. So I like to and I'm a detailed person, and critical thinking is like my jam. So I just knew critical care was for me, for sure. So I know I'm going to love it. It's just, I waited my entire program to get to that last semester of critical care experience in the hospital. And that week we were to go was when they shut everything down. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's just crazy.
So how did you guys learn all your clinical for critical care?
Well, so for critical care, my professor I had my last semester was amazing. And the fact that she made us a little pocket critical care guide for us to have in general to kind of read over, but also for note-wise, she was amazing and condensing all of her notes to just the basic of detailed information you really needed to know. And we had, obviously, because we couldn't be in clinicals and because we needed to meet the state guidelines to graduate, which was the other really stressful part during COVID times as a new grad, is we didn't even know if we were going to graduate because we weren't going to be finishing so many hours of our clinical hours. And so we ended up doing a lot of care plans. And if you guys know care plans, they're 12 to 18 pages worth of care plans, right? So we had a lot of those, and able to make up for those clinical hours we were missing physically in the hospital. So, so that we learned, and that was kind of how we learned about different critical cases from that. It was just a lot of care plans and all that kind of stuff. But then also, because we were missing out on clinicals, during that period, you guys had launched the Nursing Clinical 360. And I watched that a lot as far as just being fresh on skills and stuff. So, so you're not feeling like you're not doing anything, but you're still reviewing all of your skill sets. So you feel you're, so because I didn't want to forget any of that, since obviously it's been since February since I've been in the hospital, really. So so I've reviewed that a lot from you guys too, just because I want to be fresh when I get right back and not lose everything. So
exactly. No, for sure. Okay, so this is so Alexis, I see your question, and then we have a couple questions about the HESI, but I'm going to let you continue. I saw your guys' questions, but I'm going to let Kristen kind of continue giving you guys your tips on how to be successful. So let me go. I did see your questions, and we'll answer those towards the end. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so kind of my next point. So with lecture, I talked about that with you guys, making sure you're still engaged within the Zoom or FaceTime with your classmates, professors, all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of already touched base, because the next big thing, or the big change with COVID, is clinicals. So a lot of you may have clinicals that you guys will be going to. Some of you guys may not. A lot of that might be just doing a lot more care plans from home, or you're doing like sim labs from home and all of that kind of stuff. And so with clinicals, I definitely recommend, if you're not going to be in a hospital for a period of time for clinicals, to be really practicing your skills from home. And like I had just mentioned with Tammy, they have an amazing course that's the Nursing Clinical 360. And with that, I mean, it works with your head to toe assessments. It works with your IV starts, your NG tubes, your wound care. I mean, pretty much any skills that you would work on typically in like the classroom for a skills day or in a clinical, you guys can be working on that if you're not physically in a hospital to practice those skills. And I feel like that's going to be really important, so that when you are there and when you finally get to a clinical, that you would be able to do those and you would feel really confident in your skills and in your abilities. Aside from being in clinicals too, I wish I did this, but obviously you don't know what's going to happen before COVID, because you didn't know it was going to happen, the whole pandemic. But make sure you guys have your resumes too with you and ready to go, because when you go to clinicals, you could give your resume like ready to go to like a charge nurse or to a director after you're done with that rotation of clinicals, so that they have it, and that if they're hiring eventually, that they can pull your resume right off the bat. I wish I could have done that. I was waiting until my critical care rotation to do that. And then I never even got a chance to do that. And then everything closed. And then it was a matter of like maybe putting my resume to the hospital, but then they weren't allowing any visitors. They still don't allow visitors. But it was a hassle to then like try to get my resume out there at the end. So it kind of really kind of put a damper onto hiring in the beginning of summer after I graduated. So I also recommend for you guys to have your resumes ready when you go to your clinicals, so that when you're done, you can give it to someone, and that it would give you better of a chance of getting hired into an area that you guys want, or an area that you guys can start out as a new grad, just for experience, if anything. And then that will work you into your way of getting the actual job that you guys want eventually. So clinicals is important, but just depending on what you guys are doing, just kind of see how it goes. I don't know. Some people are allowed back in hospitals and some people are not. So just kind of go with the flow. That's kind of what 2020 is. It's going with the flow of the change. So the third thing I wanted to really talk to you guys about is NCLEX. And so with the NCLEX, for me, it changed with everything COVID. So you had to do a minimum of 60 questions or a maximum of 130 questions. So when I took my NCLEX, we were told that when we graduated in May, it would probably be August, September-ish when we would take the NCLEX. And obviously, it's August. And obviously, I had taken it back in the beginning of June. But that was only because luckily we had some pop-up testing places and able to accommodate for the amount of people that needed to be testing for the NCLEX. And with COVID going on, they wanted to try to get more people into the hospitals to be working. And so I was able to take mine earlier. But for testing and for practice questions for the NCLEX, I used a lot of Nursing.com has a lot of really good questions if you guys go on there that you guys can practice from. I also did a lot of UWorld questions. Generally, though, I tell everyone, especially if it doesn't matter what concept you guys are studying, if it's in med-surg, psych, critical care, pretty much when you guys do those questions, you guys are already kind of studying for the NCLEX, really. I mean, it's just doing a set of questions every single day. So when I studied for the NCLEX, I made sure I did somewhere between 50 and 100 every single day. And once I did that, then I was like, okay, I'm good to go. I recommend for your guys is for NCLEX, work on areas that you guys are the weakest. So if med-surg isn't your jam, or like if psych, like my weak area was psych. So I did a lot of psych questions so that I felt a lot more confident, and I was doing better in that area, so that if I took the NCLEX and I got those questions, I was so much better. So work on those weak areas when you guys practice your questions, and work on doing a set every single day, because that is your practice for when you guys eventually take the NCLEX. And do more if you're in your last semester of nursing school. So if you're in that last stretch, do more every single day, because then that'll just prepare you. And then when you're done with school, you guys would pretty much be ready of taking the NCLEX within like 2 weeks. So like for myself, it was probably 2.5 weeks later when I took my NCLEX. So yeah, and I felt really confident when I went and took that test. So that's the other thing I highly recommend for you guys to do with the NCLEX. So aside from that, COVID times, guys, it's hard because there's so many unknowns, and I hope, especially now, things are getting better, but I don't know what fall's going to bring. Hopefully we won't have like a second surge of the COVID that's going to be going on. But for myself, it was hard because we weren't sure that we were going to graduate. We didn't have a class picture. We didn't have a graduation. We didn't have anything when I graduated from nursing school, just because of the times that we're living. But I think a lot of this year in school is just adaptation to the change and adjusting to the at-home lectures, and it's adjusting to maybe the clinicals and having to do certain kind of clinical hours where you're just sitting at home during your 12 hours and not in an actual physical hospital. But you want to keep up on your skills, and you want to keep up with like as if you are going to be in a hospital with 4 or 5 patients. So you want to always be practicing all that stuff if you're not going to be physically in a hospital due to COVID. And so it's just really important to be working on all that kind of stuff. So between all of that, any other questions you guys have for me on everything?
We do have lots of questions.
I wish I could kind of see it on my end, but I don't see it.
I know, usually you can, so I'm not sure. I'm going to have to talk to Russ and find out what's up with that. Okay, so a couple of questions here. Let me just read those for you.
Sure.
So a few about the HESI. Mm-hmm. And you said to kind of focus on your weak areas. Mm-hmm. When you're taking the NCLEX. And I know, so a lot of people on here, they are nursing.com members. And what I always tell people is when you are preparing to take that, you go into the NPQ or the nursing practice questions, take it in all nursing categories. So that's going to be OB Peds, that's going to be all of the med surg, it's going to be psych, it's going to be pharm, it's going to be everything.
Fundamentals.
Yeah, fundamentals. Mm-hmm. And then you take questions that they're all going to be mixed together. And then when you're done, it's going to tell you a percentage of where you are in each area. Mm-hmm. You want to be between the 55 and 60%. I don't know if you remember this, Kristen, or if it's bad memories that you've kind of put back there.
All those nights of studying, yes, those numbers sound very familiar to me right now, yes.
Yes, exactly. And I get this all the time, but, and like you said, just take lots of questions. But people were wondering about the HESI. Okay, so they're not quite there to the NCLEX, but they're about to take the HESI, and they're just kind of wondering if you have any tips for them on how to prepare for the HESI.
Yeah, so for myself, for my HESI, it was all I studied and used was my HESI A2 book, and I can even post that later of the exact book that I used, but that was literally the only thing I used that I studied from, and I did really well on that. And it depends too on like what program you're in, because we were really only doing like reading comprehension, math, science, and something else I'm sure I'm forgetting. But it was only like certain areas that they were like actually taking like your grade for. It wasn't like everything.
Gotcha.
But it was this specific book I used. I loved it. I actually took it two times. Mm-hmm. And the first time my reading comprehension score wasn't that great. It was like mid 70s, upper 70s. And I wanted it better. And so I studied even more, and then I got it in the lower 90s. So, nice. But I loved the book. I literally just went back and reviewed stuff from that section of that book. So I could definitely post that, and they can see exactly which HESI A2 book I used. Mm-hmm. But that is literally all I used, and I loved it. And I felt like, it kind of had the lessons, and then it had quizzes that you went through for it. And it definitely prepared me for that exam for the entrance. So
yeah. So HESI and T's, did you get a choice, or did they just kind of say, no, you're taking the HESI, or it just kind of depends on the school?
Yep, it depends on the school.
Awesome.
Yeah, because it was, here's the HESI, here you go. Like,
this is what you're doing.
This is exactly.
Okay, so now any advice on the exit HESI? On how you study? Did y'all do that?
Yes, we did. And we had to do it from home. Because of COVID.
Oh, of course.
All that like lockdown browser kind of stuff for exams and stuff. Again, it was like one of those learning curve balls, like of all of us trying to do that. For any HESI because we had to do a HESI at the end of our first block that was just on fundamental material. We had to do a HESI after the second block. It was on, I believe, just psych and so forth. So the actual exit, I used a HESI review book, and it's a red book, so I'm sure a lot of you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But I only used that, and I used your guys' test bank questions, and I used that Green Saunders book, like test bank questions, is how I studied for it. Because there's really no other way to really study for the exit HESI than the actual HESI book and then just other sources of questions. So literally it was just doing a bunch of questions again and just whatever areas, kind of the same with the NCLEX. But again, I used another like HESI book on top of that was by the same company that runs that exit exam. So I can also link that too. Yeah. But that was like the other added source that I used when I studied. So
right. Awesome. So looking back during your time as a nursing student, what was the number one tool for time management? Alexis struggles with that.
Oh, time management. I can only tell you, yes, time management. Between time management and organization, they're big things in nursing school in general. And for time management, I had a planner and I had like my Google Calendar and everything. I had everything written in there from like due dates to like my personal stuff I had going on to like my work schedule to my clinical schedule. So like anything that you absolutely have to have on there to put in there. And then anytime that's left in between was like, okay, this is what I'm going to finish during this time. Okay, this is due this time. And I organize myself on the weekends for my week ahead. And then I would allot some time too of just some open areas just because life happens, things happen, and it kind of messes with your schedule and, having some leeway. But you definitely have to organize yourself. So definitely get yourself a planner. Definitely write out your schedules, write out all your due dates for assignments, write out all of that kind of stuff. Because for sure, I mean, with nursing or school in general, everyone's going to know it takes so much time out of your day to study and to work on assignments. And if you're not organized, like your time management is going to kind of go out the window because it's not organized. So you gotta organize yourself to stay on time. But
for sure. So I don't know if you saw this inside of nursing.com, but we have something called a test taking course. And inside the test taking course, there is an entire lesson all about time management. And what you were just saying. I thought maybe you had watched it because what you were saying is a lot of what kind of we do is you take your calendar and you like organize it by test date, by readings, by life, by like, what you have to do with work and your family and all that stuff. And you just kind of plan everything out like that. So
yes, absolutely. You just have to.
Did you do it month by month or did you do it by semester by semester?
I had a general month-to-month one where I knew, okay, like my test dates, like pretty much when I got like a syllabus for like the semester, I would write all of that out onto my calendar. And then it pretty much was like a week to week of like, okay, this day is going to be really busy with school. I'm not going to have time to do, X, Y, and Z. Okay, I'm going to have all this to read. Okay, I'm going to do these chapters this day, these chapters this day, and that's all I'm going to worry about. If I have more time, I'll work ahead. But I mean, it really is like, for the most part, it's a week to week. So every weekend I'd be like, okay, so next week I got this stuff going on, and organizing my time that way. Cause for sure. Definitely got to stay on task. And a lot of the times when you do that, I was able to work ahead a lot of times. So I'd be ahead of the game, which was great. I mean, you don't want to be behind on anything. Cause once you're behind, you're like majorly stressed because now you're behind and you're trying to catch up, and then there's all this new information coming your way, and
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, like, so
That's when,
yeah,
like,
stay on top,
overwhelmed.
like stay
Yeah.
on top of it. Yeah, for sure, for
Mhm.
sure.
Okay, Leslie says, my school doesn't provide online lectures, so we are having to learn everything via textbook and outside readings. Could you give an example of daily study schedule that could be efficient?
Daily schedule. Okay, so you guys do not have an online course.
Leslie, depending on what books you use, sorry, I'm just going to do a huge plug for nursing.com real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can organize, if you are more of like a visual learner and you like the lessons, the video lessons, you can create a study plan based off of your textbook readings. So you can go through there, I don't know what book you have, but say you have, I don't know, ATI book or something like that. You can go through there, select the chapters that you need to be reading, and then create a study plan off of that, and you can go in and watch that. But Kristen, what would you suggest also?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm a huge visual learner.
Uh-huh.
So when I go through chapters and stuff, like there'll be like boxes too that are like main points or like main point and like whatever you want to make sure you're going through and reading through that.
Yeah.
But then I also like, depending, because now like online you can actually do like an outline per chapter where it like literally it'll just have like the main topics, and then you kind of go and like fill in those blanks too as far as like the subtopics to each thing. So, you know, it could be like about diabetes, and it could be about, okay, what is it? And then like the diagnostics, and then like treatment, evaluation, you know, assessment and all that kind of stuff. But like, so I did that too, where I broke things down in the chapters from an outline form, that I was able to do on, at least on our Lippincott book. So it depends too on like what book you're using online, if it has that feature. But we were able to do that. And then visuals, like I'm a visual person, so I like to watch videos. So like your guys' videos and stuff too, like I'd be watching videos, and I'd be like, you know, on YouTube looking at different videos and just pictures, because I'm just a visual person. I like to see something, because I would have a hard time sometimes just reading through chapters. Like I can't just read through chapters and be like, oh yeah, I got it, you know, like I just can't do that.
Yeah,
So
I can't do that either. So
yeah, yeah,
I get you on that one for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Mary says, any tips for studying at home? I love studying in the library. It's peace and quiet, but moving it at home has been a struggle.
And I'm curious, does she have any kids at home, or married, or is it just herself? Just because I know, like from my classmates anyway, when we went home the second half of our last semester, there were a lot of us, or not a lot of us, I mean, not myself, but a lot of them that have kids at home. And so it really was a challenge, because it was trying to find an area to study where it's a quiet time to have to yourself, to be able to work on your school studies and stuff. And a lot of that is, you know, if they're married, it's working out that schedule with your significant other, that they could have some other activity going on while you're able to study. Or if they have kids at home, it's a matter of maybe
She has two
having
toddlers, she just said.
2 toddlers. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and I feel for everyone with kids, especially like now, like people having to teach their kids from home now, like because of everything's online. And yeah, it's, if you have someone else at home that can help you to be able to, so that you can study, or maybe like a parent, a sibling that could maybe take them for a period of time for you to study. Or, you know, maybe it's working out something with the toddler. But I mean, being toddlers, that's really
I
hard to
know.
do. Like
Yeah.
you can't tell them to just be like, okay,
Quiet.
mom's gonna like study, and it's like my quiet time. Yeah, and with that, like my professors were really good on that, as far as, you know, when we had class periods, or like whenever we were having discussions and stuff, like they understand, especially with having little ones at home, that, you know, if you weren't there for something, or if there was noise or whatever, you know, they weren't going to be like on your case about it. But it's really just trying the best that you can with your toddlers at home, and just kind of working around. Like, I don't know if they still have even like nap times or anything like that.
Right.
Like try to study in between, I guess, of the busy time. But yeah, if you have help at home that can take them for a period of time to have you have for your studies, that would be ideal. But if not, it's really just trying to work with the best that you have, with them being home. If you don't have anyone to kind of watch them and able for you to kind of study, you know, it's really trying to juggle a lot at one point, or, you know, during this period, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard.
It is really hard. Totally different, but we've had to work from home since March. Mm-hmm. And what I found very helpful, because I'm more of a person that needs, like, you know, a certain environment. Like, I have some ADHD problems. Like, you know, I have to have, like, right. Yeah. So what I found is having like a designated area. This is where I'm going to study. This is where I'm going to work. And then setting like a timer, like work for 20 minutes, study, or
absolutely. Yeah. And I do feel like, and it's funny you say that, because, and that was actually what I was going to say too when it came to studying, is make sure you do have a designated area where it's going to be your study area. And like, okay, make it organized, have everything ready to go. And then, set yourself a limit of like, okay, like I'm going to do 30 minutes of this, set a timer and be like, okay, after this 30 minutes, okay, I'm going to go and see what everyone's doing, what's happening, make sure everything's great. Okay. And then I'm going to go back, I'm going to reset the timer. I'm going to be here for, you know, another 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever you want to set the timer for. But yeah, no, that's exactly right. Like, you do have to kind of set time for you to just solely focus on that. And then once that's off, you can go and focus on whatever else that you have going on, for sure. Focus that's a really good point.
For sure. So you might have some good insight on this, since you are actually going to be working in the COVID unit, but, there it went. So we were pulled out of clinicals due to COVID. We are returning. Sorry, people keep asking questions. We are returning to clinical settings next week. What advice would you give to stay safe in this COVID environment?
Well, in general, with COVID, it's pretty much like you hear everyone talking about. You're definitely going to be wearing masks. And then depending on what area you guys are going to be in, I highly doubt with students they're going to have you guys on a COVID unit where you would really have to worry about wearing all of the PPE and everything else. Just in general, be safe. Just do like the CDC guidelines. Just make sure you guys are washing your hands often. Make sure you guys are wearing a mask all day when you guys are there. Make sure, you know, you're not in any sort of situation that's like unsafe. I mean, and I really doubt they're going to do that if they're going to allow students back in. I'm sure they're going to have a whole other kind of guidelines for students once they're back. I know here in Arizona anyway, there's very limited clinicals right now. And I mean, limited to where they're not even really allowing anyone back yet, because it's just, they just aren't, or visitors still at the hospital. So if you are, I mean, it's just, I would still just keep with the CDC guidelines to be safe, and just make sure you guys are washing your hands, keeping a steady distance, wearing your mask. And just kind of aware of your surroundings and what you guys are working with. And, you know, if there's any time you're not certain about anything or what kind of PPE you should be wearing, make sure you ask. Or if you do not feel comfortable, just put something on. I mean, really, it's kind of comfort level for you too. But just be aware of your surroundings and what you guys are working with, and just to be safe. And, you know, that's just, living crazy times, guys. So different. Sure.
So let's see here. Hannah said, okay, I have a question. So my first semester of nursing, we had to go online in late March near spring break because of COVID. We were supposed to start clinicals after, but this is going to be my first time in a hospital setting. What should I expect, and any tips?
Yeah, so first time, I can tell you from my experience, very first time I sat in a hospital for my very first clinical ever, especially after COVID and stuff, I was so nervous, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to like mess anything up. I don't want to seem like I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm like retarded or anything like that. A lot of nurses you're with, guys, I mean, a lot of them are really nice, and they're, you know, they're there to help. I mean, to make it fun. I mean, not like fun, but like, you know, like make it as much as not a stressful time for you. Like they'll, and again, it's going to be what you put into it, but just take a deep breath. It'll be fine. do as much as you can. If you need help with anything, ask for help. And I mean, they will be more than happy to help you with anything. I mean, a lot of any nurse that I was with, any charges that were around, they were very welcoming and they were so nice of helping you with anything. So they're there to help and make it as much of a good experience for you. And if for whatever reason, if you're with a nurse that isn't the most helpful or isn't really nice or anything like that, let your clinical instructor know. Like if there's any issue, like make sure to let your clinical instructor know, and they will reassign you to somebody else, because the last thing they want for you is to go and have the worst time to where you're miserable and you're not learning anything and you're not excited to go. Like, you know, I have to say, like my first one, I was so nervous. And then it was just like, oh, like that was actually so much fun, you know?
Exactly.
So you want it to be a good experience. So if you're not with someone that makes it that, then make sure you let your clinical instructor know and they'll switch you. But otherwise, the nurses are great that you are working with. So just ask questions, help where you can, do what you can with whatever skill set you have at that point in time. And it'll be a fun experience. It will be fun. Like you will learn a lot, you'll do a lot, and you're going to see what a day in the life it's going to be like when you're done. So
I know, that's exciting.
Great. I know.
It's always nerve-wracking, like your first, like it's new environment, you know,
oh my gosh,
like you don't know what to expect. You're so excited, but
and then when you do something, like you do a first skill of something, I mean, you're just like elated and you're like, oh my God, like I just did that today. That was
you
so
calling
exciting.
up all your best friends at the end. Hey, guess
oh,
what
I did. I know. When I did my first IV, I was like thrilled. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, definitely.
This is so fun.
You know what I just did today?
I know, right?
And then, one time.
And there are some people that are like non-medical people, you tell, and they're just like, okay, lovely. And I'm like, okay, never mind.
They do not get it. They do not get it. Luckily, I have like, my brother is a nurse, and like, I could call him up and be like, hey, John, guess what I just did today? You know, like, so
and they'll be so excited for you.
Yeah. Then you can
like
tell them all their
any
stuff.
of your nursing besties, you know, same thing. I mean, you guys get so excited when each other do whatever, and you're just like each other's cheerleaders. It's so fun.
But if you don't have a family member, you have your nursing class. Yeah. It's
right. It's great.
All right. So let's see here. I'm going into my first semester of nursing, and what are some tips and advice for the fundamentals of nursing class, and how did you prepare for the exams in that class?
Oh my gosh. So my first semester of nursing school, things were very new for us because we had new professors, and then we had a new Lippincott online book that we were all learning. And so in general, your first semester is kind of hard because you're just learning how to answer nursing questions in general, like how to answer them, which you guys have that on your site too, of exactly how to answer like NCLEX questions. So read that if you guys haven't, because there is a way of answering those questions. And there's a lot of them. They're kind of critical thinking questions too. You have to really think about it. It's not going to be like any anatomy class or bio class that you guys took before you went into nursing school. Like that's kind of out the window. Like it's not memorization really. It's you really have to apply the information you guys are learning. So it's going to be a lot of learning how to take a test. So definitely look at those tips as far as how to take a nursing NCLEX type test. And then learning fundamentals, just in the beginning for nursing, it's just learning the basics of nursing and the fundamentals of nursing. It's kind of hard just because it's foreign to you and it's just very different. And I went and I learned your fundamentals from like you guys on supplemental learning too. And because my class, and everyone says it, but like it was a mess our first semester, to be honest. Like we were so lost. I don't feel like any of us really got, I mean, it was a mess. Everything was a mess. So it's really hard to say how exactly to study for it, because I don't think, from my experience with what we went through, from the new book to a new professor that had never taught a fundamentals course ever before. So it was kind of like that learning curve of going to basics for her. And then us that have never learned anything, it was like we kind of were teaching ourselves in a way. It's kind of how I felt, like a lot of my classmates felt. But yeah, between just trying a lot of questions over and over again, going over the fundamentals you guys had on your site really helps too.
Yeah.
And then just kind of learning with my other classmates too from our labs and everything that we had. It was a lot of our own learning, to be honest. Like, I feel like we really had to go through and read chapters and take a lot of quizzes to kind of teach ourselves. I think it was later blocks we did a lot better as far as that went. But for the first block, it's always kind of difficult just because you're just learning. It's a whole new way of learning in nursing school, especially your first semester. But
like everybody says, it's like the questions and like everything, it's just which one is the most correct, you know? So it's like, but if y'all are listening, Thursday night, John actually is going to be here and he's going to be giving you all the tips about test taking.
I saw that. Oh,
you did.
That will be a really good one to go to because I mean, I even a few times I've had to go back and be like, oh my gosh. I mean, once you learn those tips, like taking tests are a little easier to know what to look for and what,
how to dissect those questions.
Definitely. You do. And reread. Make sure you're answering the right question. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, guys, we have taken up so much of Kristen's time. So if you guys have any more questions, go over to Instagram and at the nurse Kristen and send her a DM. I'm just offering up your services.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Write me anytime.
Okay.
I really try to get back to as much people as I can. So yeah, absolutely. DM me anytime.
Awesome. Yeah. So DM Kristen here with all of your questions. We've known Kristen, I'm pretty sure I've been talking to you for like 2 years now.
Oh, yeah. So pretty much since I started my nursing school journey. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been great.
It's been fun to watch her go from
a baby nursing student.
So, But as I promised in the beginning, for giveaways. So giveaways tonight, we're going to be doing a set of scrub sheets. And we're going to be doing the NCLEX book. Kristen, you used this, right?
I did. And actually, one of my classmates just borrowed it from me to take their NCLEX.
Did they really?
Yeah. So, it's a great book.
Yeah,
it's good fantastic. Visual colors.
So it's all in color. There you go. So giveaway for this. And then Kristen, she's going to be giving you all something. She's going to be giving you that. And
one of the Health Heroes bath bombs.
So we're going to have 4 winners tonight. What you need to do is in the comments, just do a thumbs up or some kind of emoji. And then we're going to choose randomly 4 different people. So guys, learning everything online this semester due to COVID will be challenging. It'll be challenging to get all the information to sink in on top of determining what you need to know. But take it from Megan after receiving her results from her exit HESI, where she scored 99% tile. So that's pretty good, right?
That is amazing. That's great.
So she said, thank you to nursing.com. This never would have happened without the no fluff approach you provide. So not only do we provide a no fluff approach, as Megan said, our educators and the way they teach help the information really sink in. Guys, I cannot imagine how hard it's going to be to go through nursing school with all that's going on. Nursing school is hard enough as it is, and I know throwing this wrench in there makes it that much harder. But the goal hasn't changed. You are still going to become a nurse, and I don't want this once in 100-year pandemic to deter you from that goal. So from now until September 21st, we are offering 25% off of the nursing student membership. So that's a great deal, right, Kristen?
That is awesome. Yeah, that is awesome.
So it's going to give you the test taking tips that we were talking about. It's going to give you those fundamental, it's going to give you those clinical courses that we were talking about. It's going to give you NCLEX style questions. And all you have to do is go to nursing.com/YouTube live special. Just put it in the chat. I put it in the chat, and I'm also going to put it in the description. Go there tonight and start your $1 trial, no obligation, cancel anytime for a 3-day $1 trial. So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much, Kristen, for coming.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. Yes, I really appreciate it. And tomorrow night, we're going to have, do you know Jennifer?
I do. Yes. Jennifer.
Yeah. So tomorrow night, Jennifer will be here. Another fabulous girl. And she's going to be giving us 5 tips for overcoming the nursing school struggles.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that'll be another great talk. All right, Kristen, you can't see the chat. So
no.
I'm going to do it, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
So all you have to do is send me an email to, everybody write this down before I announce the winter. To contact@nursing.com. Put that in the chat. And then, so our first winner is going to be Hannah Smith. You are winning the scrub sheets. Kristen, what do you want the next person to win? I'll let you choose that.
All right. We'll first do the Healthy Rose Bath Bomb.
Okay, let's see. Mercedes, you have won the bath bombs. Congratulations. And then the next person, we're going to do the NCLEX book here. Let's go with Paul K. You have won the NCLEX book.
Yay.
And last but not least, let's see here. Go towards the bottom here. How about, let's go with Donna Ramsey. So all of you guys have just won. That's 4.
Woo-hoo!
If you did not win tonight, join us again tomorrow night. We will be doing some more giveaways. If you guys are interested in the scrub sheets or the NCLEX book, we actually are doing a sale on those on Amazon. And yeah, go over there, check it out if you guys are interested in that. So if you are one of the winners, please email me at contact@nursing.com. Right? Yeah, that's what I said. Contact@nursing.com. Guys, don't forget to head over and start your $1 trial for 25% off nursing.com Student Academy. So again, Kristen, thank you so much. Go follow at The Nurse Kristen over on IG. She's always posting helpful tips and tricks for all of you guys. So have a fabulous day, guys. See ya.
Thanks,
Happy nursing.